Hi, I'm Debbie Harbeck, and I'm a certified life coach working with women in midlife and through the menopause transition. So each week, I'll be sharing the latest information, inspiration, and generate some momentum so you can move forward and feel more in control of your changing midlife body and your life. Let's go. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. So today I'm addressing something, it's a phenomenon actually that I'm seeing in my coaching practice. And I think maybe it'll have some mixed reaction, I'm not sure, but because I'm seeing it with so many of my clients, I just wanted to bring it here to the podcast because I'm sure that it can be affecting a lot of you out there as well. So the issue is, and it doesn't sound like an issue, but the issue is being great at your job. I know this doesn't sound like an issue. And in fact, it sounds like an asset to be great at what you do and even to love what you do, because sometimes that is why we're great at it, because we love it. The issue is that when we are great at something, we'll do that thing when it seems like we have some free time or when other things in our lives aren't going well, or you're a people pleaser. You'll tend to do this thing that you're good at to the exclusion of all other things because you're being validated, you're being praised, you're being rewarded for the amazing work you do. So again, it sounds amazing, but what ends up happening with many of us who find ourselves in this place is that our health and fitness end up suffering. And we do less things for fun or relaxation, and we can easily become disconnected from the real connections in our lives. So I've made a list of 5 dangers of being great at your job because there's consequences to each of them. And I'm going to go over that, but also tell you what you can do about it and how you can relate to your work in a healthier way and still be great at your work and still love your job. There are ways to do that. The first thing would be when you're great at your job, you'll often do it after hours or in your free time. So now that work can be done from pretty much anywhere, right? And there aren't really any set work hours, you can find yourself doing a little extra after hours or on a Saturday or Sunday night because it kind of feels like you're catching up or you're being more organized and on top of things. But it can be a red flag when you find yourself doing this week after week. It's okay once in a while, but as a habit, it's not okay because what ends up happening is that all of a sudden you start gaining weight or you feel exhausted or you're putting off things like exercise or preparing healthy foods or taking what you would consider unproductive downtime, and you'll even skip hours of sleep. And so this is a real problem. There's no work out there that is worth risking your health and well-being because you are of no use when you don't have your health and well-being. So when you work like this, you're fueling actually your anxiety and stress. So if you have issues with anxiety and stress, notice if this is what you're doing at work. If you're great at your job and you're doing your work in your free time, maybe that's fueling it. This is where you have to decide to stop. To do that, you'll actually need to have things planned after work and on weekends so that you know what you're doing instead of working. You need to have some structure there. You need to plan to go for a walk. I know that sounds silly, but you need to have that in your calendar. Plan on taking that yoga class. Plan on making dinner and going to the grocery store. Plan 10 minutes of meditation. Plan a coffee date with a friend. I know it does sound silly, but the structure in your personal life, because you probably have tremendous structure in your work life, but bring it into your personal life, and that can stop you from filling your time with work. So the second thing, when you're great at your job, you might get compensated or rewarded. A lot of us do. So when we do a great job, we do tend to get compensation and rewards for it. But when you find yourself going for those rewards instead of taking care of yourself, you're risking your health for outside validation. And so many of the women I work with are people pleasers. I used to be a people pleaser, and I'm very familiar with it. And it's something we often work on overcoming in coaching. The problem with people pleasing is it can lead you to experience more and more intense menopause symptoms. It can lead to weight gain. It can lead to frequent health issues and higher anxiety and depression. So working on increasing self-compassion and self-love can be really helpful here, and setting up boundaries around these people-pleasing tendencies that a lot of us tend to have. The third thing, when you're great at your job, it can become who you are. It can become your identity. So when we're great at something, it's not just part of who we are, but it can actually overtake who we are. And I'm not saying that your work shouldn't be a source of pride or that you shouldn't take ownership of it, but if it becomes something you sacrifice your well-being for, your health for, your relationships for, then it's time to rethink who you are and who you want to be. Notice how you feel when you give up things like time, like activities, like healthy eating, like time with others in favor of your work, and decide on the limits or boundaries you want to place around your work. This is more important than ever, as I mentioned before, given that work is everywhere and you can do work anywhere you are because of your devices. Number 4, so when you're great at your job, you might spend all your best energy at work. And I hear from so many women that the reason they don't exercise or take care of themselves or prioritize themselves is because they don't have the energy to do that. So instead of using all your energy at work, it needs to be an intentional thing to save some energy for yourself before and after your workday, maybe even in your workday. What we tend to do is use our energy to focus on the deliverables and deadlines at work, but we forget about our own personal deliverables that seem to have their own natural deadlines, because if we don't do them, something's going to happen. So here the solution is in how you plan your day. So instead of planning around time, try to plan around energy and save more of your energy on other things rather than work, like saving yourself some energy so you can go for a walk. And in walking, you'll actually, in fact, generate more energy. Or saving some energy to pack a healthy lunch, which also actually gives you energy because you'll be eating healthier food. And what about saving some energy to spend time with people you most love and care about, which, yes, also actually gives you energy in the end. So frequently work can take energy but not give you as much back in return. So to spend your energy wisely means to spend it on things and situations and people that will give back that energy. And it will pay off at work too, because you'll just be a much more energetic person. So the 5th thing is that when you're great at your job, and this is the last one, you can become less willing to grow and learn new things. And I call this competency laziness. It's not a scientific name. I actually just made it up. So what that means is that when you're great at your job and you've been doing it for a long time, you may stop learning new skills and you may stop putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, which can help you grow and expand. And those situations actually keep you healthier. And the other thing that can happen is that when you're competent at your job or anything else in your life for that matter, and you have time on your hands, you'll be more likely to do that thing rather than do something more uncomfortable or new or something you're less competent at. So if you're great at your work and it isn't challenging you to grow mentally or emotionally or spiritually, then it's time to find other things within your work or even outside your work to help you grow. So you could learn a new language, learn a new skill, try a new sport, or even pick up a new hobby that you've been thinking about. Exploring creativity can be really great for overcoming this competency laziness. It doesn't really matter what you do. What matters is that you find something you're curious about, that it will challenge you because you're not competent at it, and that you're willing to spend some time practicing this new thing. So I brought this to the podcast today because, as I said, it's a trend that I'm seeing. I meet women who are working on work when they could be doing things that would give them the health and fitness that they're actually coming to me for. So in order to get there, though, it will take willingness. You need to be willing to do this. You need to be willing to really look at your work and your work situation, and a desire to move beyond just identifying with work. And you need to have an understanding about yourself, what you want. You need to understand your energy and tune into that. You also need to be willing to plan your time and your energy ahead of time. And it will take some self-confidence, because to do the things that you want to do, you need to stop counting on the validation that you're getting from work or the rewards that you're getting from work. As you know, I'm a coach, and these are things I help my clients do so that they can feel personally successful in all the important parts of their lives. So we do want to feel successful at work, but we also want to feel successful in our health, in our fitness, in our relationships, and in all aspects of our lives. So that is why I'm bringing this to the podcast today. I think it's something we all need to look at, how we're working. I know a lot of women are affected by this today, especially in the current climate of work. So, did you like this episode? Did it resonate with you? Are you taking something away with you today? If you are, I'd love you to rate it on Apple or Spotify or whatever platform you're using to listen, and maybe even share it with someone else, because I'd really appreciate it. I think the more women that know about this podcast, I think the better. And I'll be back next week with a fresh new episode. So keep moving forward, and bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Midlife Momentum podcast. If you want to learn more about working with me, come visit me at DebbieHarbeckCoaching.com. That's Debbie, I-E, Harbeck with a C, coaching.com. See you next week.